The Mountain Man Chef here, and we are going to check out what went on with our kombucha project. So today is the unveiling and tasting to see how everything goes. So what we did last Saturday was brewed some tea, put in a kombucha scoby, and let it sit in a dark, warm place for 7 days, and we're going to see how it tastes and how it looks. So actually what actually happened is I am getting bubbles, and an actual new scoby has formed. So I believe that it's pretty well taken care of and doing what it's supposed to do. There's some yeast sediment in the bottom, and it smells like a little bit of vinegar. So I'm going to turn the camera around and you'll see what's going on here. So here's our jug of kombucha, sealed with a coffee filter to let air in. And let's see if this will focus here. There's lots of bubbles on the edges, and there's a scoby formed all the way around and on top of the original scoby. So what you're supposed to do first is do a taste test. And first we're going to take a look. It looks pretty gross, pretty nasty, but that's what your kombucha is supposed to look like. Not taste like yet. I don't know what it's going to taste like. So the way you taste your kombucha is get a clean straw, take the paper off, take a straw, place it down inside, get down about middle, plug the straw up, and give it a taste. Here it goes. It's actually pretty good. Tastes like wine, tastes like a little vinegar, and there's a little bit of tea flavor in it. So what I'm going to do next is push pause on the camera here, and I'm going to take the scoby out. But first thing that you have to do is listen to dogs barking. But I'm going to disinfect my hands. I'm going to disinfect my hands with vinegar, because you don't want any bacteria on your hands touching your scoby, because it is alive and it is a living organism, and any bacteria that you have on your hands is pretty detrimental and dangerous to possibly even kill it. So I'm going to push pause here, disinfect my hands, and we'll grab this scoby out. Alright, so my hand is wet with actual apple cider vinegar. I'm going to reach in and grab this guy. Here's the new one that formed. Not bad, actually. A little stuck to the other original one. It's pretty gross. Looks like a jellyfish. But that's what actually ferments the tea and gets it all ready and healthy for you, full of probiotics. So I'm going to put it in a mason jar here. That's been disinfected with vinegar as well and sterilized. And this is the mother scoby. And I'm going to actually place some of that, or all of this, in that jar as well. And I'm going to rinse my hands off in some cold water here, because I'm not touching anything else. And I'm going to pour some of the brewed tea into what they call a scoby motel. And that will keep it live and kicking until I brew my next batch, which I'm going to start today. So pushing pause again here today. Or pushing pause again, and give me a second here. Let me put some in here, and then I'll tell you what else we're going to do. Alright, so there's our scoby motel, and it's pretty fizzy. It's pretty much carbonated already, and what I'm going to do next is pour some into some sterile bottles and give some flavor to some of these. I'm going to use elderberry juice, some pomegranate juice, and some ginger, and I may even put in some, what I hear is a good one, is lavender So I'm going to do that, get that all set up and ready to go, and I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, here we go. This is what we're going to flavor 6 of these nice sterile bottles with. This is pomegranate juice and elderberry juice, and just going to pour a little bit in each one. I want to keep the kombucha flavor, but I also want to give it a little bit of other flavor as well. So just filling up a little as we go here. You can individually flavor any way you want, from what I hear. Lemon, ginger, plain lemon, ginger-aid they call it, and it's just ginger crushed in the bottles. And let it ferment for at least 24 more hours. It's called a second fermentation. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to open up another bottle of pomegranate juice here. And what's going to happen is it's actually going to get more carbonation to it. Don't quite know how much I'm going to make, but I do have some reserve bottles and mason jars in the event that I don't have enough room. So that's about equal amounts in each jar of the pomegranate juice. And I'm going to put in some elderberry juice as well. And then fill the rest up to the top with the kombucha tea. Kind of got a little interested in this after being sick all winter long with a bad cold and going on antibiotics, and very sensitive to antibiotics in my body, and ended up getting a little bit of thrush. So this is also a gut cleaner. It will clean out a lot of your, they call it candida. So if you're pretty much a sugar fanatic or carbohydrate fanatic that gets converted into sugar, you have a tendency to build up a lot of candida in your system, which is not what you want. So kombucha will actually destroy the candida bacteria that's in your body and replace it with the good type of bacteria that balances you out. So push and pause here because I'm going to get a dipper so I can fill up the jars with the kombucha. So before I start pouring the kombucha in, I chopped up some fresh ginger. I'm going to place it in 3 of these. See how that tastes. I have no idea how this is going to taste, or how much ginger to put in, or how much juice to put in, but I don't want to put too much juice in, and what I want to do is just give it some kind of an extra different flavor. But it tasted good, just plain. So 3 of these I'm putting ginger in, and the other 3 is just going to be the elderberry and the pomegranate. So I'll take my dipper, gently pour in, because it is actually somewhat carbonated. As you can see the bubbles every time I stick the dipper in. I'm going to pretty much fill it up to the rim. Cap them off, put them in a cool, dark place, and let them ferment for 24 hours, and then put them in the refrigerator and drink the daylights out of them. This stuff actually hydrates you really well. I was drinking some of the store-bought versions of this all week. But from what I hear, store-bought has a tendency to not be as healthy as it can be because it's processed, meaning it's pasteurized, or they have to heat it to seal it to keep it sterile. But if you do it at home, this is how you do it at home. It's all, at least I know what's in it. So what I used was black organic tea and a cup of sugar, and that was it. That was a little full, but it's okay. We'll dump some of that out. It does say to fill it up almost to the rim. Looks like I'm going to have a lot left. But I have to reserve some for my next batch. And as most of you know me, I'm pretty much into making my own stuff. You know, keeping healthier by making my own food. So do a lot of home canning in the fall. Do a lot of bread baking, which got a couple loaves of sourdough bread that I'm going to be making in the next 24 hours. So at least I know what I put in it, and I know what goes in it, and I know that it's pretty darn healthy. How did I get my scoby is from a coworker of mine whose wife has been making kombucha for a long time, and he brought in some of the pomegranate flavored kombucha, and stuff was pretty darn good. Gave us a taste of it. Said he had extra scobies, because each time you make a batch you get a new scoby, so he's kind of got a couple of us a bit hooked on making our own. So that's what I'm going to try for a while. Showed my wife and kids the whole ordeal, and there is in no way, shape, or form they want to even try this, as they feel that scoby was pretty much a deterrent in trying some of this out. So what you have to do is seal these up twice a day, depending on how much extra carbonation you want. You let them ferment, which is called, just basically it's eating the sugar out of the fruit and continuing to create more carbonation. And kind of have to burp them twice a day from what I hear. That way it doesn't explode the jar, which I have read of a few people having accidents by over fermenting, by just not burping it, and basically their jars exploded. So don't want to have that happen. So pomegranate ginger kombucha and elderberry, and plain kombucha with just elderberry and pomegranate. So I'm going to put the caps on these, rinse them off, and see how it goes. I still have more in here, and I'm going to fill up maybe a mason jar and maybe just slice some ginger and put that in there. But that's kombucha. First time making it, so I believe it's a success. All right, Mountain Man Chef signing off.